So Benghazi has already been scrutinized several times over by several different congressional committees, all of which concluded that Benghazi was a tragedy, but there was no administration conspiracy and there was no cover-up. So it's been investigated, I think, 7 different congressional committees, 6 and then one outside one. And then, but it doesn't matter to the Republicans because they've got nothing to run on because Barack Obama's a Republican, so they got to keep making up stuff. And what this is really is to try to, well, we're going to get to what this is really about. But
Jimmy, also just as was mentioned earlier, Fox News did 1,100 segments on Benghazi.
That's not a made-up number? That's a real number?
That's a real number. It's not a made-up number.
Wow. Okay. So they bring on Luke Russer to talk about what the new Benghazi hearings are doing, and here's how we will.
Luke, good to see you this morning. What do we expect out of today's hearing?
This issue has been politically very radioactive for some time. There's folks on the right that say that this is a cover-up, that the Obama administration moved forward to the degree of Watergate and Richard Nixon.
Oh, so on the right, they say it's just like Watergate, but what else?
Folks on the left say this is nothing more than the GOP just trying to pad their numbers ahead of the midterm and throw some red meat to their base.
What's the truth? I guess we'll never know. But Luke has reported both sides, because both sides do it, ladies and gentlemen. So, yes.
And I did just want to add that it sounds, Luke definitely can memorize all those talking points.
Yes, it's amazing. Instead of cutting through the talking points and debunking obvious BS, Luke Russer repeats it. Right?
But you cut him off. He probably is about to get to the truth.
Oh, he's going to get to it.
Right.
He just got done saying that the Benghazi is just as bad as Watergate. Yes, Susan Rice appearing on a Sunday news show is clearly as bad of a cover-up as Watergate was, Luke. Very good.
Well, Luke is like Woodward and Bernstein. He believes follow the money, and by that I mean his own money that he makes for being on it.
So here he goes. He's got more to say.
What's interesting, though, Jose, is there was a press conference yesterday from the Democrats on this panel, and
So this is what's interesting, not the fact that what he just said was all BS and that this whole thing is BS, that this is all political theater. That's not the interesting part. Here's the interesting part.
Said, look, we have had no meeting regarding what the long-term strategy of this committee is. We have had no planning in terms of what the rules of the committee are going to be. So we are really sort of lost in the wilderness right now, so to speak. So that's really something to keep an eye on.
That's the interesting thing, Luke. That couldn't be less interesting to me right now, that they haven't gotten together and set the rules. That's the interesting thing. The interesting thing, again, would be this is all a crock, right? That would be, this has been investigated how many times, Luke?
Keep an eye on is what questions will this committee seek to answer that have not already been answered by the other 7 investigations that have gone forward in some capacity on Capitol Hill.
Yes, that's going to be interesting to see what questions get answered that haven't already been answered in the other 7 investigations that have answered every question so far. So there have been already 7 investigations about this. Maybe you want to lead with that, Luke, instead of first repeating the Republican talking point before you tell us what's really happening. And guess what? Those 7 investigations have turned up, boom, 0, nothing. No conspiracy, no malfeasance. Maybe you lead with that. They've already investigated this 7 times. They've asked every question 7 times. The answer keeps coming up, nothing.
Yeah, but Jimmy, what about the question, what about Benghazi?
What about Benghazi? That's right. What about Benghazi?
Maybe they're just asking one question per investigation.
So here goes Luke Russer again. He's got more. What are those questions that they want answers to again, Luke?
I know one question and answers is how do you run out the clock between now and the November elections without doing anything?
Without doing anything.
Like Luke Russer, how do I run out the clock before they say thanks for joining us, Luke, and do something else?
Oh, well, can I remember what else I read today at Mediaite? Okay, here we go.
The questions they really want to get at were those talking points that Susan Rice said on the Sunday shows after this horrific incident. Were those cooked for political purposes? So far, there's no clear evidence that that's the case, but they want to investigate that again. Was there a stand down?
They want to investigate that again.
And you mentioned it, but 2 of those committees, at least 2, maybe more, but 2 of those are chaired by
Republicans.
By Republicans, not just Republicans, Republicans in the House.
and they've already declared there's no scandal, there's no anything. But Luke keeps reporting this as if these questions need to be answered, as if they haven't already been. Well, I guess this is the question that's going to get answered today. What about Benghazi?
Yeah, no clear evidence.
No clear evidence.
I'm sorry, but Walter Cronkite would walk on here at this point and go, this is a huge circle jerk.
Yeah.
And that would be some of the best journalism ever.
Yes. He would come on and he would say, I think by any measure, it is clear now that the journalism war is lost.
Yes. I think Walter Cronkite at this point would be just like he was when he reported the Kennedy assassination.
Yes.
Right.
Rub his forehead and be, oh my God, I don't believe what's happened to this country. This man is actually on TV.
So here we go. This guy's actually a panelist on Meet the Press. Okay, here we go.
An order given to those security personnel in Benghazi protecting the ambassador.
He said, was there a stand-down order? So he's asking all those same questions that have already been debunked 7 times. Luke keeps bringing them up on national television as if they're still real questions. Okay.
So far, there's been conflicting reports, but nothing definitive as of yet. The CIA denies it. So these are the types of questions they want to answer again. It does come at a tune, though, of $3.3 million cost to taxpayers, Jose.
Oh, yeah, there you go. It does come at a cost. So those questions have been asked and answered. Luke keeps forwarding them and giving them a platform and repeating them as if there's still a question about this Benghazi. All right, Luke, go ahead.
I will say this for Luke. He really did fill up that airtime.
Yeah, he really did.
He managed to start talking and say stuff until his time was up. And he really pulled that off. You got to give it to him.
So Luke has been talking now, Frank, for 5 minutes, and he's repeated every BS talking point surrounding Benghazi at least twice. And so now how about you just tell us what's really going on now, Luke? What's really going on with the Benghazi hearings? And here we go.
And then politically, Luke, we got to talk about Hillary Clinton. You know, there's a lot of talk about what may happen in 2016 and whether this is being utilized by the Republicans to try and hit her image and affect her possibilities for a future run.
There's absolutely no doubt from high-ranking aides that I've spoken to, and even high-ranking Republican elected officials I've spoken to over the past 6 months, that they understand that this is being done to some degree in order to try and put the mud on the tires of Hillary Clinton, as one said to me a few months ago.
So, Luke, this is just political theater intended to smear their opponent's presidential nominee, meaning it's all BS then? So I'm certainly glad you didn't lead with this information and didn't even give it to us, and you had to be prompted by the host to reveal the real purpose of the Benghazi hearings. You had to be prompted 5 minutes after you've repeated every wrong thing and misinformation. Finally, he actually has some information that a Republican told him months ago that he's been sitting on, but it took Jose, the host, to twist his arm and get it out of him. Wow, throwing mud on the tires, and Luke Russer is an expert at mud-level reporting. You know, if Hillary received a memo that said Libyan forces were determined to attack a U.S. consulate, Republicans wouldn't think anything wrong happened at all.
It's obvious that cheese has fallen off the cracker on the whole mud on the tires thing.
So, Luke, you just said what the real purpose of this committee is to put some mud on the tires of Hillary Clinton. Why don't you just go ahead then and do the rest of the Republicans' job for them, which is to repeat the worst smear about Hillary Clinton ever. Repeat it yourself on national television. You know how to do it. Just repeat an unbelievably slanderous, completely false, unsourced accusation that has not been confirmed by any credible news source whatsoever. Can you do it, Luke? I think you can.
There's a lot of, shall we say, skepticism from these Republicans that Hillary Clinton was not involved directly in what happened in Benghazi, and that she was somehow part of an active cover-up. You've seen a lot of media reports about that regarding this one official who says that she was basically shredding documents. That hasn't been substantiated by any credible news sources so far.
No, that the worst smear you could possibly think. It hasn't been vetted by any. It hasn't been confirmed by any credible news source. You mean you're repeating now complete wackadoo stuff you've read in right-wing websites, that's exactly what he's talking about. He's repeating a bogus smear of Hillary Clinton that it's not been sourced or confirmed by any credible news source. So, as a principled reporter with integrity, he would never repeat improbable stories like that on television. Oh, wait, it's Luke Russert. Okay.
I'm eager to find out how he ties us in with that murder.
I was about to say, I've already written it down because I think that some of those documents she was shredding, it's unconfirmed at this point.
It's unconfirmed.
But they may have had to do with the payments to the guy that she hired to kill Vince Foster.
Right.
I think they had to do with the land deals.
Yeah,
in
right.
Whitewater. I really do.
Well, Vince Foster was going to expose the truth about the land deals. That's why they killed him.
Yes. And Republicans
By the way, I don't think Bill Clinton had anything to do with that. I think it was just Hillary.
Just Hillary.
It was just Hillary.
Yeah, I'm sure Republicans know that Obama told Hillary to order the IRS to kill ambassadors in Benghazi, right?
That's probably true.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, someone said it, so it's worth reporting. Come on.
You know, as far as political theater goes, this is getting kind of boring. Kind of boring. Although I will say, I did do a cartwheel in excitement when I saw Luke Russer do his both sides do it.